Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle, and today I have a library haul for you. Now, I've been making good use of the Holds program at our library and curbside pickup and all of that, but it has been more than a year, probably even more than a year and a half since I've actually browsed in the library. And so yesterday I spent about an hour browsing in my local branch of the library. There wasn't very many people in there. I wore a mask and I was safe and all of that. But it was just really fun to browse the stacks again. It has been so long since I have done that. And it's just, you just don't know what you're going to find. And that's what I love about browsing as opposed to just using the online catalog of a library. So I thought that I would show you the books that I picked up from the library yesterday. So these are as a result of my browsing, plus a few that I picked up that were available, that were ready for me on hold, that I had put on hold. So let's just dive straight into this haul. I grabbed Murder by the Book by Laurain Elliott. This is a Beyond the Page bookstore mystery. So this is a cozy mystery, but it caught my eye because it is about a bookstore. Addie Grayborn loved working with rare books at the Boston Public Library. She even got to play detective, tracking down clues about mysterious old volumes. But she didn't expect her sleuthing skills to come in so handy in a little seaside town. So in classic cozy form, you get someone kind of moving back home or moving from a big city to a small town. And that's the case in this one. It's a New England town. She gets an unexpected inheritance from a great aunt, including the first editions and other treasures from her aunt's library. And so she starts a bookstore from that inheritance. And I grabbed It Takes Two to Mango by Carrie Doyle. Again, this is another cozy. This one just looked so fun and summery, so I had to pick it up here for towards the end of summer. We have Plum Lockhart, who was a travel magazine editor, and she loses her job, and so on a whim, she accepts a job as a villa broker and moves to a beautiful Caribbean island, and then discovers a client dead in one of the properties that she manages. So it's set on a Caribbean island, and amateur sleuth, cozy mystery, why not? And this is one that came in on hold. This is the third in the Slough House series by Mick Herron called Real Tigers. This is the third in that series, set in London. Slough House is the MI5 branch where disgraced operatives are reassigned after they've messed up too badly to be trusted with real intelligence work. The slow horses are the failed spies of Slough House, as the failed spies of Slough House are called, are doomed to spend the rest of their careers pushing paper, but they all want back in on the action. When one of their own is kidnapped and held for ransom, the agents of Slough House must defeat the odds, overturning all expectations of their competence to breach the top-notch security of MI5's intelligence headquarters, Regent's Park, and steal valuable intel in exchange for their comrades' safety. The kidnapping is only the tip of the iceberg, however. The slow horses suddenly find themselves caught in the midst of a conspiracy that threatens not only the future of Slough House, but of MI5 itself. I think one of the reasons why I like this series so much is that the slow horses, the agents at Slough House, are the underdogs, and I like a good story about underdogs. I found A Tale of Two Murders by Heather Redmond, a Dickens of a crime. So this is a Victorian era historical mystery where Charles Dickens is the main character, and that just sounds fun. I found Mausoleum by David Mark. Keeping a secret can be murder. This is set in autumn in 1967 in a village in the wildlands of the Scottish borders. And our main character is a disgraced academic, Cordelia Hemlock. And she is in the local churchyard, and then when lightning strikes a tumble down tomb, she glimpses a corpse that doesn't belong among the crumbling bones. But when the storm passes and the body vanishes, the authorities refuse to believe the claims of an outsider. Ooh. The Reader's Room by Antoine Laurain. This has been translated from the French by Jane Aitken, Emily Boyce, and Polly McIntosh. And now this is just a slim little thing, but it really intrigued me. The book has a life of its own outside my control, and those who must die will die. When the manuscript of a debut crime novel arrives at a Parisian publishing house, everyone in the reader's room is convinced it's something special, and the committee for France's highest literary honor, the Prix Goncourt, agrees. But when the prize shortlist is announced, there's a problem for editor Violaine Lepage. She has no idea of the author's identity. As the police begin to investigate a series of murders strangely reminiscent of those in the book, Violaine is not the only one looking for answers, and she's beginning to wonder what role she might play in the story. Murder on Millionaire's Row by Erin Lindsey. This is a novel set in Gilded Age New York. Main character is Rose Gallagher, and she is a housemaid in a fancy house. So that sounded fun as well. And then I found The Paradise Affair by Bill Pronzini. This is part of their Carpenter and Quincannon mystery series. They are private detectives in San Francisco in the late 1800s. But in this book, they are off to Hawaii, which makes it intriguing. The Man with the Silver Saab by Alexander McCall Smith. This is part of his Department of Sensitive Crimes series. This is set in, I believe it's Sweden. I'm pretty sure it's Sweden. So, in the hilarious new novel in the best-selling Detective Varg series, an eminent art historian is framed and the ace investigators of the Department of Sensitive Crimes are on the case. Mistress of the Just Land by David Ashton. This is again a historical mystery set in Edinburgh. New Year's Day, and through the misty streets of Victorian Edinburgh, an elegant female figure walks the cobblestones with a certain vengeful purpose. Jean Brash, the mistress of the Just Land, brings her cool intelligence to solving a murder that took place in her own body house, the best in Edinburgh and her pride and joy. A prominent judge strangled and left dangling could bring her whole life to ruin, and she didn't haul herself off the streets to let that come to pass. That one sounded fun too. And then I found the latest in the Women's Murder Club series by James Patterson and Maxine Paetro. This is 21st Birthday. This is a series that I enjoy. Okay, so the Women Murder Club is comprised of a detective, Lindsey Boxer, a medical examiner, Claire Washburn, a reporter, Cindy Thomas, and an assistant district attorney, Yuki Castellano. And so yeah, you get those four women solving cases, and that's fun. Okay, I got Murder at the Mena House by Erica Ruth Neubauer. This is a book that I've actually read before. I read it as an advanced reader copy on NetGalley, and I remember enjoying it, and I always prefer a physical book to an ebook, so I thought that I would grab it. This is a historical mystery set in Egypt in the 20s. Well-heeled travelers from around the world flock to the Mena House Hotel, an exotic gem in the heart of Cairo, where cocktails flow, adventure dispels the aftershocks of World War I, and deadly dangers wait in the shadows. Jane Wonderly is our main character, and she's traveling with her Aunt Millie, and one of the guests at the hotel turns up dead. Death in Brittany by Jean-Luc Bannelec, I think. This has been translated by Saoirse McDonough. This is a book set in in France on the seaside, obviously in Brittany. And we are introduced to, this is the first in the series, we are introduced to Commissioner Dupin, a clever but cantankerous traditional police inspector in an idyllic French seaside village. So he is Parisian born, and he is relocated from Paris to the remote Breton coast. And he is not happy when he is dragged to the scene of a curious murder one morning. The local village of Pont-Aven, a sleepy community by the sea where everyone knows one another and nothing much seems to happen, is in shock. The legendary 91-year-old hotelier Pierre-Louis Pennec, owner of the Central Hotel, has been found dead. And then All the Devils Are Here by Louise Penny. This is the latest in her Amon Gamache series. I had got this from the library before to read, but I hadn't got around to it until I needed to return it. So I'm trying again. This one I'm actually really interested in because Armand Gamache and his wife are in Paris. And so that will be really interesting. The Missing Diamond Murder by Diane Janes. This is a historical mystery series set in England in the 1930s. Frances Black is worried. Divorce proceedings are underway and her solicitor has learnt of a spiteful letter sent to the court claiming that there is more to her friendship with her sleuthing partner, Tom Dodd, than meets the eye. Fran takes Tom's advice to get away, traveling down to Devon to help the Edgertons with their family mystery. After meeting the charismatic Eddie Edgerton and arriving at their residence, Sunnyside House, Fran soon learns that Eddie's grandfather, Frederick Edgerton, died in mysterious circumstances when his wheelchair went off a cliff. Was it really an accident? And what happened to Frederick's precious diamond, which went missing at the time of his death? Love it. I love mysteries that are set in the 30s. And this is Bryant and May, The Lonely Hour by Christopher Fowler. I love this series, and this is the book that I am at in the series. This is the Peculiar Crimes Unit series. The brilliant Arthur Bryant and John May take the late shift in a cat and mouse hunt with a killer who preys on his victims at the same time every night, the lonely hour of 4 a.m. And then I heard about this mystery from Carolyn, from Carolyn's Reading Ramblings. I've watched a couple episodes of a new show that's on Acorn TV called Whitstable Pearl. And I discovered that they're based on this series of books, and this is the first one, The Whitstable Pearl Mystery by Julie Wasmer. And this is a book set in Whitstable, which is on the coast in England. Pearl Noland always wanted to be a detective, but life and a teenage pregnancy got in the way of a police career, and instead she built up a successful seafood restaurant in her coastal hometown of Whitstable, famous for its native oysters. Now at 39 and with son Charlie away at university, Pearl finds herself suffering from empty nest syndrome until she discovers the drowned body of local oyster fisherman Vinnie Rowe, weighed down with an anchor chain on the eve of Whitstable's annual Oyster Festival. Is it a tragic accident, suicide, or murder? Pearl seizes the opportunity to prove her detection skills and discover the truth, but she soon finds herself in conflict with Canterbury Police Detective Chief Inspector Mike McGuire. Then another body is discovered, and Pearl finds herself trawling the past for clues, triggering memories of another emotional summer more than 20 years before. Servant of Death by Sarah Hawkeswood. This is the first of a series that she's written, historical mysteries set in 1143. So we're in some medieval time period, which I quite enjoy. The much feared and hated Udo, the Lord Bishop of Winchester's clerk, is bludgeoned to death in Pershore Abbey and laid before the altar like a penitent. The despicable man he may have been, but who had reason to kill him? As the walls of the abbey close in on the suspects, Sergeant Catchpole and his new unwanted superior, Under Sheriff Hugh Braidcoat, must find the answer before the killer strikes again. And this book was previously published as The Lord Bishop's Clerk. And then this was an interesting one that I found. A Very Pukka Murder, the First Maharaja Mystery by Ayjun Raj Gayand. He is one of India's best known comic book writers, and he also is, he writes graphic novels as well. And this is his debut novel, the first in a planned trilogy featuring the adventures of Maharaja Sikandar Singh, set against the backdrop of princely India during the heyday of the British Raj. So I find that really fascinating. And this cover here, you can tell he writes comic books and graphic novels, can't you? So, we have From the Borders of Icy Kashmir to the Shark-Infested Shores of the Malabar Coast, Major William Russell, the English resident of the small princely state of Rajpur, is renowned as a straight-laced man of rigorous habit. When his valet knocks on his bedroom door the morning after the 1909 New Year's ball and receives no response, he and the resident's elderly secretary eventually task the English commander of cavalry with breaking it down, and the resident is dead in his bed. Now we get this Maharaja Sikandar Singh is bored and decides that he wants to investigate and solve the case before the English bring in their own detective. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by this one. Then I also have the third in the Sparks and Bainbridge series, A Rogue's Company by Alison Montclair. This is a historical mystery series set immediately following World War II in London, 1946. And so this is the third one in the series. Sparks and Bainbridge run a marriage bureau, and Lord Bainbridge, the widowed Gwen's father-in-law and legal guardian, he returns from Africa and threatens to do whatever it takes to put a stop to her business, even if it means sending her 6-year-old son to boarding school abroad. But there may be more going on in Gwen's family than meets the eye. A new client shows up at the agency, one who may have a secret agenda involving the Bainbridges. A murder and a kidnapping force the Right Sort Marriage Bureau to seek help from a dangerous quarter, and soon the investigation puts the very lives of Sparks and Bainbridge at stake. And last but not least, this is Faithless by Karen Slaughter. I'm doing a reread of her Grant County series. This is a mystery series set in Georgia, and the main character is Sarah Linton and her ex-husband Jeffrey Tolliver, who is the chief of police. She is she's a doctor, and so she's the one who I've lost the word for that. She's not a medical examiner or anything, but she'll do autopsies and stuff. And so yeah, so this is the next up for me in that series. I forget where I am now in that series. I think this is the 5th one in the series. The victim was buried alive in the Georgia woods, then killed in a horrifying fashion. When Sarah Linton and Jeffrey Tolliver stumble upon the body, both become consumed with finding out who killed the pretty, impeccably dressed young woman. So there you go. That is my library haul, and that was a lot of books. I think I did very well for spending 1 hour in the library. Let's chat about these books in the comment section down below, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.